Hello everyone. Tonight we're back with another special story designed to gently carry you away as the day draws to a close. As the world outside grows quiet, let's journey to a hidden valley where the rhythmic clatter of looms whispers tales of generations. This isn't a story of grand kingdoms, but of Aelbrook, a village of weavers nestled amidst ancient mist-covered mountains. We'll step into the lives of the Thorne family, master weavers whose artistry was as intricate as their family bonds. Feel the comforting hum of their craft, the scent of wool and dyes, and witness how, even in their secluded world, the distant echoes of a global conflict would eventually reach their valley, testing their love and resilience. Now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's begin our journey to Aelbrook, where the loom of memory perpetually weaves its intricate pattern. In a hidden valley, cradled by ancient, tree-covered mountains, where mist often clung to the peaks like forgotten dreams, lay the village of Aelbrook. It was a place renowned not for its grand architecture or bustling markets, but for the gentle, rhythmic clatter of looms that echoed from every cottage. Aelbrook was a village of weavers where generations had spun yarn and woven intricate tapestries, their lives intertwined with the threads of wool and linen. It was the mid-1930s, a time that, within the sheltered confines of their valley, felt like an endless, golden afternoon, untouched by the distant rumblings of the world. The heart of Aelbrook, for many, was the cottage of the Thorne family, master weavers whose patterns were known for their delicate beauty. Elias Thorne, the elder, was a man whose hands, though gnarled with age and years of working the loom, moved with a surprising grace. His spectacles often rested on the tip of his nose as he meticulously inspected a new design. His eyes, the color of faded indigo, holding the wisdom of countless threads. He was a quiet man, his thoughts often lost in the intricate patterns he created. But his presence was a comforting, steady hum, like the loom itself. His wife, Clara, was the dyer, her fingers often stained with the vibrant hues of madder and woad. She had a laugh that bubbled up like a clear spring, and her stories, told as she stirred the dye pots, were as colorful and rich as her fabrics. She saw the world in shades and textures, finding beauty in every natural pigment. They had one son, Thomas, a young man who had inherited his father's quiet focus and his mother's artistic eye. Thomas was a skilled weaver, already surpassing many of the elders in his innovative designs, and his dreams were woven with threads of ambition and a desire to bring Aelbrook's artistry to the wider world. Their life was a symphony of soft sounds and vibrant colors. The constant, rhythmic clatter of looms from dawn till dusk was their daily soundtrack, a comforting pulse of industry. The gentle murmur of the river that wound through the valley, providing the water for their dyes, was their lullaby. The scent of wool, lanolin, and natural dyes filled the air, a unique perfume that defined Aelbrook. Love in their home wasn't expressed through grand gestures, but through the shared silence of Elias and Thomas working side by side at their looms. The occasional shared glance of understanding. It was in Clara's fragrant teas, brewed with herbs from her small garden, offered with a warm smile after a long day. It was in the stories they told each other by the hearth, the firelight dancing on the woven tapestries that adorned their walls, each telling a silent tale of family history. Their days unfolded with a predictable rhythm, the preparation of yarn, the setting of the loom, the patient weaving, the careful dyeing, and the quiet satisfaction of a finished piece. Evenings were for mending tools, sketching new patterns, and sharing simple, hearty meals around their sturdy wooden table, the warmth of the fire a constant comfort against the mountain chill. Thomas, with his artistic soul, had recently found a quiet, budding affection for Lena, a young woman from a neighboring valley who visited Aelbrook to trade produce for textiles. Lena had hair like spun flax and eyes as clear as mountain springs. Her laughter was soft, like the rustle of leaves, and she had a deep appreciation for the beauty of Aelbrook's weaves. Their courtship was conducted during her weekly visits, in hushed conversations by the river, or with shy smiles exchanged over market stalls laden with vegetables and vibrant fabrics. They spoke of a future woven together, perhaps a small shop in a larger town where Thomas could sell his designs. Or perhaps Lena would come to live in Aelbrook, learning the ancient craft. Their love was a delicate, hopeful thing, unfurling like a new pattern on the loom, full of youthful dreams and unspoken promises. A quiet dream of a life shared amidst the colors and textures of their world. Then the distant rumblings began to echo even into their secluded valley. News carried by traders from distant towns spoke of growing tensions across the continents, of nations arming themselves, of a world teetering on the brink. Elias would listen to the reports with a grim set to his jaw, his gaze often drifting to the mountains, as if they could offer protection from the encroaching darkness. Clara, ever observant, noticed the subtle changes in the market, the increasing demand for sturdy, plain fabrics, the decreasing interest in their intricate, artistic designs. The rhythmic clatter of the looms, once a sound of peace and prosperity, now seemed to carry a new, unsettling undertone, a premonition of unrest, a faster, more anxious beat. The innocence of Aelbrook, once so complete, began to fray. One crisp autumn morning, the air sharp with the scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke, the inevitable arrived. Not a boat, but a somber-faced official arriving on a bicycle, his uniform stark against the colorful village. Thomas, now 20, stood before his parents, his face pale but resolute. The country needed men, and his artistic hands, once destined for the loom, now answered a different call. Lena had come with the official, her eyes swollen, her hand clutching a small, intricately woven piece of fabric Thomas had given her. The farewell was not dramatic, but heavy with the weight of unspoken fears, of a future suddenly fractured, its threads severed. Clara held her son tightly, pressing a kiss to his forehead, trying to memorize the feel of him, the scent of him, as if to store it for a time when she might need it most, a precious, fading image. Elias gripped Thomas's shoulder, his gnarled hand trembling slightly, his voice thick with unsaid words of caution and love, a silent plea for his son's safe return, a hope that felt increasingly desperate. Thomas looked back one last time, a fleeting, brave smile, a wave that was more a tremor of his hand, a silent goodbye, and then he was gone, swallowed by the winding mountain road, disappearing into the mist of an uncertain dawn, leaving behind an aching void that echoed in their hearts, a silence more profound than the absence of the looms. The war became a constant, unseen presence, a shadow stretching over every aspect of their lives, darkening even the brightest days, a pervasive gloom that seeped into their very bones. Letters from Thomas were sparse, brief, and heavily censored, the blacked out lines speaking volumes about the unspeakable horrors he was forbidden to describe, hinting at a world of unimaginable suffering, a reality too grim for words. They spoke of long marches, of cold nights, of the camaraderie of his fellow soldiers, of shared cigarettes and whispered jokes in the quiet moments between battles, fleeting glimpses of humanity amidst the chaos, small islands of normalcy in a sea of madness, but never of the true horrors he witnessed, the fear that gnawed at him, the nightmares that haunted his sleep, the faces of those he had seen fall. Clara would read each word, tracing the letters with her finger, searching for hidden meanings, for assurances that weren't there, for a hint of the boy she knew, a sign that he was still whole, his spirit unbroken, his artistic soul intact. Every distant sound of a passing vehicle sent a jolt of fear through her heart, a sudden tightening in her chest, a sickening lurch in her stomach, anticipating the worst. Every storm that raged through the valley, a chilling reminder of the dangers her son faced, of the chaos that could engulf him. The nights were long, filled with restless sleep, and the silent prayers she whispered into the darkness. Her hands clasped tight, her faith a fragile comfort in a world gone mad. Life in the valley changed profoundly, adapting to the harsh realities of wartime, a collective effort of endurance and quiet resilience. The looms, once dedicated to intricate patterns for trade, now wove coarse, utilitarian fabrics for uniforms and bandages. Supplies became scarce, and their small gardens became even more vital. Every vegetable a small victory against scarcity, a testament to their determination to survive. The rhythmic clatter of the looms, once a sound of peace and prosperity, now took on a new, urgent significance, a contribution to the war effort, a silent participant in the conflict. The nights were often tense. The mountain passes watched for unwanted visitors. The familiar starlight, hidden behind thick cloud cover, replaced by an oppressive, artificial gloom that made the world feel smaller, more confined, more dangerous. Lena, growing older, continued her visits, her face pale, her eyes haunted. She and Clara would sit in silence, sharing cups of tea, their shared anxiety a silent bond. Their conversations punctuated by long pauses, filled with unspoken fears. They waited with a patient, aching hope that sometimes felt like a burden. The isolation of the valley, once a sanctuary, now amplified their anxieties, making the distant war feel closer, more personal, threatening their very way of life. The pain of absence was a dull, constant ache, a persistent throb beneath the surface of their daily lives, a phantom limb that was always there, a reminder of what was missing, a void that could not be filled. It was in the empty loom in Thomas's corner of the workshop, a gaping void where his creative energy used to be, now filled only with silence, a silence that amplified their grief, making his absence even more palpable. It was in the silence that filled his small room, his sketchbooks gathering dust on the shelf, his favorite weaving tools still by the window, waiting for hands that would never return, a poignant testament to a life interrupted, a future stolen. It was in the way Clara would sometimes pause, her hands in the dye pots, lost in thought, a faraway look in her eyes, her mind drifting to distant battlefields, imagining the unimaginable, the horrors her son might be facing. Loss, for them, was not yet a sudden, shattering blow, but a slow, creeping erosion of certainty, a gradual fading of hope, a constant draining of vitality, leaving them feeling hollowed out, empty, adrift. Each day without him was another thread pulled from the fabric of their family, leaving it thinner, more vulnerable, unraveling slowly, threatening to come undone completely. Then came the official communication. Not a telegram this time, but a letter delivered by the village elder, his face drawn with sorrow. It was from Thomas's commanding officer, brief and formal. Thomas had been caught in a sudden skirmish, a surprise attack, missing in action, presumed lost. The words hung in the air, heavy and final, echoing in the sudden, profound silence of the cottage reverberating in the very walls of their home, chilling them to the bone, freezing their very souls. Clara did not scream or cry out. Her body seemed to absorb the shock, her spirit recoiling, withdrawing deep within herself. She simply sank into a chair, her face utterly devoid of color, as if all the light, all the life had been drained from her, leaving behind an empty shell, a statue of grief, motionless and silent. Her hands, usually so busy, lay still in her lap, motionless as if frozen in time, unable to respond, unable to comfort. Elias stood by the window, his back to them, his shoulders shaking almost imperceptibly, his gaze fixed on the distant mountains, his own pain a silent, crushing weight. Lena, when she heard, simply walked to the river, sitting by its banks for days, her tears mingling with the flowing water, her heart aching with a profound, desolate sorrow. The entire valley mourned with the Thornes, a collective sigh of sorrow for life suspended, for dreams unfulfilled, for the artistic spirit lost to a brutal conflict that seemed to devour the young, leaving only devastation in its wake. The days that followed were a blur of hushed condolences, empty gestures of sympathy, and the crushing weight of a silence that screamed Thomas's absence. A silence that was more deafening than any clatter of looms, a constant, painful reminder. The war eventually ended. The news reached their isolated valley slowly, carried on the wind and by the rare, triumphant sounds of distant church bells. The celebrations in distant towns seemed like a world away, a joyous peal that felt almost sacrilegious in its triumph, a stark contrast to their inner turmoil. People cheered in the streets of distant towns, a joyous cacophony of relief and celebration. But in the Thorne home, the silence remained, a deep, abiding quiet that no amount of cheering could fill, a quiet that was a constant reminder of their loss, a monument to their sorrow. The world celebrated, but their world had shrunk, scarred by an indelible mark, a permanent void that could never be truly filled, a wound that would never fully heal, only scar over leaving a tender spot. Elias, though he continued his weaving, his hands still skilled, moved with a new slowness, a weariness that went beyond physical exertion, a burden carried in his very bones, a shadow in his kind eyes that spoke a profound sorrow, a silent testament to his enduring pain. Clara's laugh, once so bright, now held a gentle melancholy, and her hands, though still skilled with dyes, often paused, her gaze distant. The aftermath was not about grand healing, about a sudden return to normalcy, but about quiet endurance, about finding a way to live with the absence, to integrate the grief into the fabric of their daily lives, to carry it as a part of who they were, a silent companion, The looms in Aelbrook slowly returned to their artistic pursuits, new patterns emerging, a gentle hum of normalcy that, slowly, tentatively, filled the air like a hesitant spring after a long winter. But the echoes of what was lost lingered, woven into the very fabric of the place, into the threads of every tapestry, the murmur of the river, the rustle of the leaves on the ancient trees, a constant, subtle reminder. Lena, from the neighboring valley, eventually found a new path. Though she carried her memories of Thomas-like, precious, fragile things forever etched into her heart, a silent testament to a love lost too soon, a love that would forever remain a beautiful, painful memory, a bittersweet echo. She never forgot Thomas, nor the brief, beautiful dream they had shared. A dream that had blossomed and withered in the shadow of war, a poignant tale of what might have been a life unlived. Years turned into decades, each one bringing new changes, new seasons, new faces, the relentless march of time, carrying them further from the raw pain, but never truly away from the memory. Elias and Clara grew old together, their love deepened by shared sorrow and the quiet strength they found in each other. A bond forged in the crucible of loss, a silent understanding that transcended words, a comfort found in shared silence, in simply being together. Their hands clasped on cold evenings. Elias continued to weave his patterns, now carrying a subtle depth, a quiet wisdom. Clara continued to dye, her colors perhaps a little less vibrant, but imbued with a new, profound meaning. They watched their grandchildren grow, children of other families in the valley, learning the ancient craft, their laughter filling the workshop, a continuation of life despite the losses, a testament to hope and resilience. They saw glimpses of Thomas in the young weavers, in a certain focus, a particular innovative flair, a comforting reminder that life continued, that artistry endured, that a piece of him lived on, a part of their legacy, a thread in the tapestry of their family, forever woven in. The emotional landscape of their lives was forever altered. The war had taken a piece of their future, a piece of their family, and left an emptiness that could never be truly filled, a permanent scar on their souls, a quiet ache that resonated deep within, a constant, subtle throb. But it also forged a deeper resilience, a profound appreciation for the small, ordinary joys that remained. The warmth of the sun filtering through the workshop window, the comfort of a shared meal, the rhythmic clatter of the looms, filling the valley with new sounds, new life, new hope. The scent of wool and dyes, the murmur of the river, the quiet hum of creation. These became even more precious, imbued with a deeper meaning. A quiet gratitude for simply being, for the simple act of existence, for the beauty that still remained. They learned that grief was not something to be overcome, but something to be carried. A part of their story, a quiet echo in their hearts, a testament to the depth of their love, a silent strength that defined them. As the sun set each evening, casting long shadows across the valley, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a final, gentle display of the day's end. Clara would sometimes sit by the window, her hands folded in her lap, her gaze soft and distant, looking out at the familiar expanse of the valley. She wouldn't be crying or even actively remembering any specific event. She would simply be there, present in the quiet echo of a life lived, a love endured, and a pain that, while softened by the relentless passage of time, was never truly forgotten. A part of her very being, a silent companion. It was a story not of grand heroics, but of the quiet, persistent beat of a family's heart through the long, slow passage of time, a testament to the enduring power of love and memory, and the quiet courage of ordinary lives lived with extraordinary strength. The valley slept, and in the Thorne cottage, a gentle peace finally settled, a peace born of acceptance and the quiet strength of love that had weathered every storm, a love that continued to weave its intricate pattern even in the shadow of loss, a loom of memory perpetually at work.